Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. Now, this last week on social media, I've noticed a lot of people posting just the Fourth Amendment. And when I look at these posts, I think, people don't really understand what the Fourth Amendment is. The Fourth Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights, and it talks, and it's a section in the Bill of Rights. It is the rights of the accused, which really, frankly, are the Fourth through Eighth Amendments, encompass the rights of the accused. But the Fourth Amendment specifically deals with the investigation process that the government uses to find anyone guilty of a crime. Let me read this a little bit, and then I am reading from textualism and originalism in our constitutional republic, and so this is the actual amendment, Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, and papers and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by an oath or affirmation, and particularly describe the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, when we talk about unreasonable searches and seizures, we're really talking about your home. Think of your home as a castle. You don't have to allow somebody to enter your castle without a probable cause, without a search warrant, without the articles specified what you're searching for. But if you're out in a public area, if you're in a parking lot, if you're walking down the street, and a cop has probable cause to stop you, he has the right to stop you and question you. He has a right to ask you for your information. And this is where I think that people get a little confused. They think they have a right to not even identify themselves, but that's really not what we're talking about here. Your houses, it mentions your papers. Where are your papers? Generally in your home. You keep papers in a file cabinet. Your personal effects. These are things you keep in your home. Let's talk about your home for a moment. It encompasses your house. It encompasses a garage. It also encompasses any area that you fenced in. Now, an officer of the law can follow you into your home if you're fleeing. Let's say he's going down the street and he's got his red lights going, his sirens blaring, and you race into your garage and tell him he needs a search warrant. Well, he doesn't need a search warrant because he has a probable cause that something's going on because you were in flight, you were fleeing. If he just was following you home and didn't turn his lights on, then he's not in pursuit. He may be watching you and checking and looking, but until he turns those lights on, until he's actually in pursuit, he's not in pursuit. So if you get into your garage and then he decides to turn the lights on, he needs a warrant. Because you're in your home, you're in your castle. Now, if you're out on the street and he wants to search you for some reason, and he has probable cause to do so, he's checking out, he does not need a warrant for that. Because by then you're being detained and you're being questioned, and he's going through the process of an investigation. He does not need a warrant there, because that's a public area. If you are pulled over by an officer and he wants to look in your vehicle, he can only look in the vehicle of what he can see normally by passing by, what you would normally see by just a standard, just having to drive by. So he can look in the windows in an area where he would have normally seen anyway. He can't go in the lock sections of your car. You can't go in the glove box because it can't be seen from outside. You can't go in your maybe a compartment between the seats. He can't go into a locked trunk. He has to have a warrant for those things. But he does not have to have a warrant for something that he would naturally be able to see anyway. So if you have a long gun, machine gun maybe, I don't know, sitting in your laying in your back seat, and he sees that, he can question you on that, what you're going to do with this, you know. He can ask for your identification. He has a right to ask you to step out of the car and have a conversation with him. These are things he can do without a warrant. Now, once you cross a private area, your fenced-in yard, once you're in there, he needs a warrant. He can go up to the door and he can knock on your door, if you don't answer the door, there's not much he can do about it. Some of your other rights when it comes to the accused, like the rights of a speedy trial and some of these other things that are in this section from the 4th to 8th Amendment, come into play once you've actually been arrested for something. That's not the case of the 4th Amendment. The 4th Amendment is simply kind of discovery. It's trying to discover what's going on here, what's happening. You know, he's investigating. He doesn't know that you're involved in anything. This is a protection that's guaranteed to you. It's an unreasonable search and search. You know, unreasonable. It's perfectly reasonable to question somebody going down the sidewalk if they have probable cause to question you. It's a perfectly reasonable thing. It's perfectly reasonable to search you if he suspects something's wrong. That you have a gun, that you have a knife. He has a right to, if he can search you, he can ask you, do you have anything that I should be concerned about? Because they're worried about their own safety. They got a right to ask you these things. In a normal course of time, it shouldn't be that big a deal. But once you're talking about a locked area, once you're talking about a cabinet, once you're talking about going into your home, into your garage, unless you're invited in, unless you invite them in, they need a search warrant. A search warrant in which they have witnesses to show something's there. They can't just think that something might be in your garage, let's say. They have to have some kind of idea that it's there, and you have to have somebody willing to go to the judge and say, yeah, I saw that there, in order to get the judge to sign off on a warrant. A judge should never just sign any warrant. A judge should look at the evidence that's being presented and make a determination on whether to sign that warrant or not. And if they can't get a judge to sign a warrant, then they have no business searching your residency. I hope this clears it up a little bit. And we'll catch you next week, on the next Constitutional Talk. Thanks a lot. Well, have a great week, guys. Bye for now.